Okay, good morning, everyone. It is 8:30 and I will bring to order the regular council meeting of September 22nd. Looks like fall is here. It feels like it anyway. We have an agenda before us. Is there any additions, deletions to that agenda? Councillor Christie.
I'll move the agenda as presented.
Motion's been made to move the agenda as presented. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. We have pre-circulated the minutes of the September 8th council meeting. Are there any errors, omissions, concerns? Councillor King?
I'd make a motion to approve the September 8th regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Okay, thank you. We've got a motion to approve as presented. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Our first agenda item is 6.1.1, planning. Welcome, Ms. Hazelton. And you're running out of stuff to do, I hear?
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Reeve, members of council. So we have a couple items for you today. First one is a subdivision extension request that we've received. So it's for subdivision KNE 190128, 129130, and 131. They're subdivisions relating to the divisions of land in section 22 of 2721 west of 4 for the Badlands Motorsport Resort. The attached plan notes how the lands are to be reconfigured on titles. Lands noted as 1, 2, 4, and 5 are to be consolidated into one parcel for the lower track. Lands noted as areas A, B, and 3 are to be consolidated into the upper track. He's not creating any more titles, they're basically boundary adjustments. In the Municipal Government Act, landowners are given a year from the date of approval in which to meet the conditions of approval. If the conditions are met, the subdivision approving authority is required to endorse the subdivision to allow registration at Alberta land titles. There have been several setbacks in meeting the details of some of the subdivision conditions. Multi-jurisdictional oversight has also contributed to the challenge of moving this project forward. Due to the current economic conditions and additional complications created by coronavirus, the applicant is finding the timeline to raise the security for the road challenging to meet. The applicant is requesting a one-year extension to provide some additional time to raise these funds. Under section 657(4)(6) of the MGA, it permits council to extend the one-year approval period whether or not that period has expired. It should be noted that these subdivisions don't expire until January 30th, 2021. There are no limits set in the Municipal Government Act for either the number of extensions or the length of time an extension can be granted for. Landowners or their agents may make a request for an extension of these timeframes to the council of the approving authority who have been granted the authority under the Municipal Government Act to approve these extensions. Kneehill County Council has typically granted a one-year extension. Due to the scale of the project and the multi-jurisdictional approvals required, administration did obtain a legal opinion on whether or not there would be any issues with the municipality granting a multi-year extension. Legal was of the opinion that granting a multi-year extension was not problematic, however, recommended that we not exceed a 3-year extension. Administration would propose that since these lands fall within an approved area structure plan and an approved direct control district, council consider the multi-year extension. This will provide additional time for the applicant, excuse me, it's not contagious, the applicant to navigate through the current economic challenges. The subdivision itself is only creating boundary adjustments to the existing titles. No development permit applications have been received to date. So we are recommending council move to grant the 3-year extension. So it would go till January 30th, 2024.
Are there any questions for Barb? What are council's wishes? Councillor King.
I'd make the motion that we do grant the 3-year extension as requested by administration to KNE 190128, KNE 190129, KNE 190130, and KNE 190131 until January 30th, 2024.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion before us as it is written on the screen. Is there any discussion to that motion prior to the question? Okay, call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Our next agenda item is 6.1.2. Anytime you're ready, Barb.
Perfect. So this is regarding the draft land use bylaw that's received second reading, so we're coming back for third reading. Council did have a couple amendments that they wanted us to make, so I'll just walk you through those, and then certainly if you have any other comments or questions. So again, in order for a municipality to work within the changing pressures for land use, the land use bylaw needs to be reviewed on a regular basis to ensure it stays relevant. On September 17th, 2019, administration brought the land use bylaw to the Committee of the Whole to outline the changes that would be necessary to allow for hens in the urban areas. Since the land use bylaw should coincide with the strategic plan, this was also an opportunity for council to ensure this land use bylaw is in fact a reflection of this council's vision for our county. Administration reviewed some of the broader policies of the land use bylaw with council at the October 15th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting. Council requested some additional amendments to be made in light of the strategic plan. These have been included in the draft document. Administration has also incorporated some clauses out of the Municipal Government Act, clarified some sections, and added some uses that will create further opportunities for landowners within Kneehill County. These proposed amendments were also presented to council at this meeting. Council had accepted these changes, and they have been reflected in the attached draft document. A public hearing was held on September 8th, 2020 at 10 a.m. Following this, council requested some additional edits to the proposed draft to be incorporated prior to third reading. Administration is proposing the following amendments to address the concerns noted by council. You'll see this first amendment under section 71, which is regarding solar energy systems. So we replaced that number 5, so it currently reads, before granting a development permit where the use is discretionary, the development authority shall notify in writing the property owners within a mile distance of the proposed site, which is greater than we typically do. We do a half mile. And give adjacent property owners 21 days to provide written comments to the development officer with respect to the proposed facility. The development authority will consider the comments received from the property owners that are within our authority to consider prior to making a decision of the development permit application. So we've amended that to address the one concern. And then we've also amended the definition for an environmentally significant area. So it now reads as follows. Environmentally significant areas means an area considered to have environmental importance to Kneehill County as defined by the Summit Report and the province and amended from time to time. So again, that allows us to stay current with the provincial data that does tend to roll in more often. We have also attached a lot of documents that outline all the changes that we talked about through the public hearing and the maps that are noting the current zoning within Kneehill County, and then another group of maps that again are the proposed zoning of some properties in effort to better align those existing uses into the appropriate districts. So all of those would be included in this third reading.
Okay, thank you, Barb. Are there any questions? Councillor Hugo.
Yes, Barb. The new amendment we're putting in, would that also work with the wind towers, also a 1 mile radius, or would that only work with?
We already, yeah, we do have that captured with wind towers as well.
I thought I read in there it was only half mile.
Let me just verify.
I could be wrong. I read it last night late, so.
Well, and I've had too many drafts in my head, so let's just verify. So it'll be 74. Okay, so maybe where you're reading that is, so where we're reading that is they have to be sited at least a half mile from a residence that doesn't belong to the owner of whoever's allowing that tower. So that's where that half mile comes in that you're talking about. So they have to be set back that far, which exceeds the requirements of their legislation. So again, I'm not sure how, if that point will get pressed or not, but usually when there's something large, we do the mile.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McGee.
With the ESA change, and it reads, defined by the summit report and the province and amended from time to time, I just want to be clear that that might be the province that makes the amendments, and then therefore we would amend it?
So yeah, typically, the provincial data is always ongoing, so they do the reports more frequently than we do. The summit is our regional one that was done in 2010, I believe, is when our version was done. A lot of the municipalities in the area did hire them, and they've done the regional ESAs for a lot of municipalities. The province is working on different information, like right now, I know they're doing the flood mapping, and that's something we would incorporate as soon as we get it. So yes, they tend to provide the data more regular, and then they make changes. And so typically, it's just additional data. It's not going to be taking anything away from what's already been defined, but because they're working on more specific data sets all the time, we just incorporate them.
Thank you. That clarifies a question I had from a resident worrying that we arbitrarily could change it.
Yeah, no, it's typically adding more layers of information to our mapping.
Okay. I have a question. Well, it's not actually a question. I guess it's a comment. And it is to do with bullet point 18, section 91. Reduce the number of lots per quarter section from 5 lots to 3. I know I've had lots of opportunity to bring this up, but I was really hoping that it would be brought up through the public engagement part of this. But we're getting down to the crunch here, and I'm concerned with that section. I've talked to some of my residents that, well, of course, they didn't realize that it was going to change. And since we first discussed it in September of 19, COVID has come into the process, and I'm not blaming it on COVID. I'm not saying that COVID is going to make the difference here, but taking it back to 2 subdivisions in the remnant, I think is, in my view, going too far. 5, it's probably going too far the other way, but there was a reason to go to 5. It's to make things fit. At the moment, there are probably quite, especially in my division in that corner, we've got lots of places where we're up to 4 titles per quarter. And I know it's not going to affect it because it will be grandfathered in and what have you. But I would like to see that go to 3 subdivisions and the remnant. And I realize that we're in the last step here, but those are just my thoughts, and I didn't want to, like I said previously, I was hoping that it would be brought up through residential or residents' concerns, but most of them don't even know that it's happening. So I guess I want to throw it out there. Is there any interest from council to do 3 lots, 3 subdivisions, plus a remnant?
maybe just provide some context. Since 2016, since we've added that to the land use bylaw, we've had 10 subdivisions that have been the 4th parcel and 4 additional that have been the 5th parcel, just to give you an idea of
Of the
how many
demand?
people are doing them. So 14 altogether, that would be your 4th and 5th parcel.
Yeah. Like, I have a concern that we're not creating these parcels. It's the resident that's creating these parcels, or the taxpayer, the landowner. And there is a demand out there for that. And as much as we're trying to take it back, I would maybe not go from 5, but go to 4. Because that's just the way I feel. So, Councillor King.
I was going to just ask, for the sake of interest, you said there's 14. Are they regionally situated, or are they spread throughout the county?
I'm going to say there's a pretty good spread. When you get into the Linden Acme area, you already have very fragmented quarters. So there's a lot of people that their quarters are done. They would never be allowed to subdivide. So down there, you're seeing maybe a couple, but I would say no, it's pretty. I don't know that there's any up north. Because it's not as subdivided, I guess, in the northwest. We do have one that sits in the area but adjacent to an urban. What you do find is several of these are closer to an urban center, which makes it a little different maybe.
Councillor Kiever, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think in my own personal preference, I like the 3 idea. If it doesn't work in your situation, buy an adjacent quarter that has nothing on it already and go at it. I don't know, we get up to the 5 and it's starting to look like cluster housing, I think, in a lot of cases, and I'm not a fan of that.
Well, I'm not advocating we go to 5, I'm advocating we go to 4, but that's, Councillor Christie.
I guess my question would be, would country residential get around that if we set up like subdivisions rather than individual?
Yeah, country residential, you have to have a minimum of 5 lots to do it. So anybody could apply for country residential, and then council would look at that through the rezoning lens to see whether or not that's an appropriate. So even if they already had a subdivision out of their quarter, anybody can always apply to rezone something. Rules and are a little bit different when it comes to country residential. We need proof of water, sewer. There's some other, they do need to come up with a concept plan. So there's a little more work involved for sure when we're going to that country residential. But it is certainly an option.
And it could be an expensive option. And when you're looking for an additional lot, because that's the only choice you've got is to go country residential, you're throwing in another 5.
Yeah. We would not use country residential to give somebody a 5th lot.
No.
On a quarter. You have to come with a proposal for 5 lots. So if you've got 4 lots, you don't get to rezone to country residential, get the 5th. So just to be clear on that, you could have 2 titles out, and then if you want an additional 5, you would come with country residential. But we don't just piecemeal it. Like country residential is a plan that you're coming with to design 5 lots for residential purposes, and they would be contiguous.
Councillor King?
Well, I sympathize with the desire often of landowners to subdivide. I also come at it from the other side, on the agriculture side, and a lot of the people who live on acreages and are moving into our area don't understand an awful lot about agriculture sometimes. And so I know some of the acreages that we work around, my clients, they add a different layer of complexity to the conversation. So I guess I would say I don't mind the idea of having some acreages, but I'm not a huge fan of increasing the number beyond what we've, and I think that was the gist of the conversation we had earlier when we went from 5 to 3, so.
And again, I guess I apologize that I didn't bring this up sooner, but I was just about certain that it would be brought up through the public hearing process or someplace through the process, because it is going to significantly affect landowners in, well, throughout the county, but when I look at what's happening in my division, it's significantly going to impact what's happening there, and I know things have changed, and I'm not just blaming COVID. I think the economics have changed since September, but I thought I'd better bring it up because we're getting down to the brass tacks here of passing this bylaw, so if no one wants to make a motion to, or do we make a motion to change it from?
You can just say, we can amend it, and we can,
Amend it.
if you guys agree to amend it, and then you can move third reading based on the amendment.
Okay, well, I can't come ahead and, or go forward with that. And I don't know, but if council's good with the 3 lots, I guess I'm gonna be good with the 3 lots too. Because that's how it works. So I take it, I'm the only one? All right, I've said my piece. I'll complain next week. Or somebody will. Councillor King.
I'll just make a last comment, and I think, Reeve Whitstock, you're correct in saying that you would have expected to have seen some kind of reaction to this particular change, but we haven't. I haven't heard anything in conversations I've had with people, so I'm quite comfortable with where we're at. But I do hear what you're saying. So.
I appreciate that. I haven't heard any reactions either until I posed the question. And then it became like, are you serious? So I know that people love to read this kind of stuff.
What do you say?
But until it personally affects them, that's when it hits, so. All right, well, I think that conversation's come to an end. So what is council's wishes? Councillor Christie.
I'll move third reading to land use bylaw 1808.
Okay, we have a motion to provide third reading to bylaw 1808. Is there any discussion to that motion prior to the question being called? Seeing as not, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is 16.3.1, Policy 128. Lori, you're presenting? Okay, welcome, Ms. Watt, and anytime you are ready.
Good morning, Mr. Reeve and Council. Bowen is unavailable today, so I'm pleased to present this recommendation on a couple of changes to our ag service policies. So as part of the regular policy review, these were brought forward to the Ag Service Board on August 21st. And the board is recommending that council approve the changes to the policies as follow. So there's 3 that we're talking about here today. Policy 128, weed inspection and enforcement. Policy 128-1, private land weed control. Policy 128-2, public lands weed control. So there were some minor grammatical changes made throughout them. we've actually merged them into one policy, 128 weed inspection and enforcement. Some of the wording was clarified for consistency, and we have removed in-crop regulated weed control and reverse fence line due to club root, as well as most all crop producers have access to control methods already. So you'll find attached the 3 policies. The current one, 128 -1 and 128-2, which will merge into 128. So our recommendation is that council approve them as per recommendation from the Ag Service Board.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Watt. Are there any questions for Lori from council? What is council's wishes? Councillor King?
I would make the motion that council approves policy 1-28, weed control, as recommended by the Agriculture Service Board, and merging policies 128-1 and 128-2 into policy 1-28.
Alrighty, we have a motion before us that we approve 1-28 weed control as recommended by the Ag Service Board. Is there any discussion to that motion prior to the question? Seeing as not, call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Lori. Our next agenda item is 8.1. Policy 11-4, meeting in county office. You're taking this one, Mike, I take it? Very good. Anytime you're ready.
Yeah, this item that's before you is similar to an item that we brought back at one of the previous meetings. We took the direction from council around the use of meeting space in the county office and made additional changes to the policy as requested. So really it was looking at more of a return to the existing policy rather than the departure from that philosophy. And we're bringing that back to you today for your review and possible acceptance, or your review and further direction as to additional changes you may want to see.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Are there any questions from council? Or what are council's wishes? Deputy Reeve McGee.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve policy 11-4, meetings in the county office as presented today.
Okay, we have a motion before us to approve policy 11-4 as presented. Are there any questions, discussion? Seeing not, I will call the question. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Oh, opposed? Okay, it is carried. Sorry, I didn't notice. Okay, very good. Our next agenda item is 9.1, Kneehill County Scholarship. Mr. Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. Through you to council. The item that's before you is for the annual Kneehill County Scholarship Awards. As council is aware, at the committee of the whole meeting, the committee reviewed the applicants that applied to receive the scholarship this year. Again, as the committee is aware, the applications the names and some of the information was redacted so that the applications were reviewed on their own merit based on the content within, and it was only after the scoring was conducted that names were revealed. Once that occurred, the successful applicants were Dale Pleva and Cassidy Sawyer. So given that, administration is recommending that council follow the committee of the whole's recommendation, which is that Dale Pleva and Cassidy Sawyer be awarded the 2020 Kneehill County Scholarship in the amount of $2,000 each. This is the budgeting for the county scholarships is a standard budget item within council, or within council's budget each year, so there's no financial impacts to this.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Any discussion, or what are council's wishes here? Councillor Penner.
Just discussion, I would like to actually thank all 5 of them. It was not an easy job, and like to thank them for putting some thought and effort into their answering of the question that we had asked, and hopefully going forward here, we can implement some of the ideas that they came forward with. Want me to make the motion?
Councillor Penner.
I can make the motion. That's County Awards Dale Cleaver and Cassidy Sawyer, the Kneehill County 2020 Scholarship for $2,000 each.
Okay, we have a motion before us to award as presented on the screen. I too would like to pass on my sentiments for those people that applied. It was a difficult process. Well, it wasn't a difficult process. It was too bad that we don't have more 5 scholarships, but regardless of. We have a motion before us. Is there any discussion to that motion prior to the question? Seeing as not, call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Our next agenda item is policy 3-12, long service award. Mr. Hogan. Thanks, Mike. Any questions? Anyone care to make a motion? Deputy Reeve McGee.
I'd like to move that we rescind policy 3-12, Council Long Service Award.
Okay, motion's been made to rescind policy 3-12. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Our next agenda item is council and committee reports. 11.1, Committee of the Whole of June 16th, minutes. Anyone care to make a motion to receive? Councillor Penner?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion's been made to receive for information, I think is what it says, yes. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Next agenda item is number 12, Council Follow-Up Action List. I did notice, and I didn't circle it because I didn't get the hard copy in today, but we have, where the heck is it here? It's to do with our public meeting because of COVID, I do believe we're in a situation where we can't put that many people together. So are we looking to extend that till after harvest if things pan out? It doesn't sound like they're going to, but are we just going to leave it the way it is? Any comments, Mike?
I believe you're talking about the Discovery Nights?
Yes, Discovery Fair. There we go, I found it.
Okay. I had a conversation with Christine last week around that topic, and I've asked, given that we're running out of year, and as you said, it doesn't look like much is changing. We have not set a date, although I've asked that she basically pick a date sometime in early-ish November to start making arrangements to have those meetings. The direction of council was to move forward with them. So given where we're at in the year, we're basically at a time where we sort of need to pick a date and go with it. So once we have that isolated, we'll be communicating that out to not just council, but to ratepayers and to managers as well. We are going to have to give some thought in light of the COVID restrictions and that we haven't really seen much change. We are going to have to give some additional thought to exactly how that's going to work. We have some ideas, but we're just still sorting through them.
Yeah, it is going to make it difficult unless we get into stage 3 of reopening in the province, which doesn't seem, I think we're going backwards instead of going forwards, so, but I did want to bring that up. And thanks for the answer. Are there any other questions from council? Councilor Hugo.
How are we making out with the sales of the surplus equipment located on the Southeast 15, 28, 22?
Through the Reeve, Councillor Hugo, we have sold the scales, and I believe they have been removed. Right now, we're looking at different options to remove the arm that connects all of the other, yeah. And then I think we can proceed with, the interest is individually, not on all of them. So we're working through that process right now. No, they haven't been, no. This is what we need to do first.
Do we put these on our county website, or do they go in Kijiji, like you, I believe you said Western Producer and Kijiji?
Yeah, through the Reeve, they were advertised initially through there, and that did generate some interest. But not the interest that we wanted. So we've kind of put that on hold right now and are pursuing this other option.
Okay.
Thanks, Lori. Are there any other questions to do with council follow-up action list? Councilor Christie.
I'll make a motion to receive the report on the council follow-up action list as presented.
Okay, motion's been made to receive for information. Is there any discussion to that motion? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. And that brings us to the close of our open agenda. I will call for a recess, and then we will come back in about 10 or 15. Okay, thank you, everyone. section, section 25. Would somebody like to bring us out of council into Councillor King?
That'd be my motion, go to closed session.
Okay, motion's been made to bring us out of council and to go into closed session. All those in favor? And that is carried.
make the motion that council to remove the commencement date for the development agreement as presented.
Turn on my mic, sorry. Okay, my mic is on. So we have a motion before us for council to remove the commencement date from the development agreement as presented. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing as not, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. That brings us to the end of our meeting. And I will adjourn. Thank you, everyone, for attending.